back. We got two people with some COVID, so if my voice isn't quite this fuck, it's really going right now. So we're with Downtown Brown again. Finally, he's joined us, and we're going to be talking about some of the things we talked about in the last podcast when it was just Mark and I, and getting their perspective on things. Talk a little bit more about the perspective when the season's going to start again, a little bit about the World Juniors. I know we kind of went over that in the last podcast, but I know you just did a video Downtown about the three prospects. Mark and I touched on them. Let's start with our favorite player. If I was gay, my boyfriend, Topi Niemela.
Yes.
He is fantastic. Well, I pull up some stats about him because Topi Niemela, when he was drafted, like a lot of people kind of just brush that off as, you know, he's a smaller defenseman, and that's just it. But the most impressive thing that I've seen from him is sorry guys, my one screen just completely turned off on me.
No worries.
This podcast isn't supposed to run smoothly. That's what makes us.
Yeah, it's rustic. That's the whole point behind it. It's abstract art. Abstract art.
I have a couple stats for him, if I can remember.
Topi?
That we brought up last podcast. Yeah, he's ninth overall in the entire Finnish league in points. Yeah. And that's not just defenseman. He's obviously first in defenseman. Hasn't been done since I think Joni Pitkänen was the last guy that did that. Who weirdly enough wasn't the most offensive defenseman. But and yesterday, I didn't watch the game. Did you guys watch the Finland game?
Yeah, I watched all the games because I'm sitting in a basement. COVID, so I watched every single game.
Did you, Downtown?
I didn't get a chance to. I was clamoring on to my fantasy football hopes yesterday.
Oh, I saw you won.
Absolutely praying, and the Dallas defense ended up coming through.
Yeah, you fucking cheater. Fucking Dallas defense. This guy's got the absolute hack job. Fucking 900 points.
Justin Jackson coming in with a 30 piece.
Yeah.
Like it's
30 piece on the Chargers. Yeah. Just like we all expected, right?
So Din, when you watched the game, what did you think of I know Hervin actually got a point, but Topi specifically.
He's really good with the puck, and he can skate around he can walk the blue line really well. And I don't want to use the word Cale Makar because he's not Cale Makar, but he's really good at skating along the blue line with the puck. And you can already see that you have that trust when he has the puck, and he does demand, or like he does take control and does take command of leading that D-core on Finland. Actually, he just has the puck most of the time, to be honest. Like, even out of all the forwards, he tends to just have the puck the whole time, which I'm okay with, because if that means Morgan Reilly doesn't have to hold the puck, then I'm happy.
Hey, no Morgan Reilly.
I know.
He's got 23 points in his last 23 games here. My screen's
just
back
habit.
up. I have all my numbers in front of me.
Okay, go for it.
Hey, a good fisherman ever takes his pole to the water, Steven.
All right. So the one thing that's impressed me the most about Topi Niemela here is that he's just 19 years old right now, but at the end of this season, he'll be 20 years old, and he would have already played 3 professional seasons in the highest league in Finland, playing against grown men, right? And that's the difference between maybe having a prospect play overseas in Europe rather than play in the Canadian Hockey League, right? And I'm not dissing the Canadian Hockey League or anything like that. It's just that when someone is able to do something against professional men rather than just 16, 17, and 18-year-olds, it holds up a little bit more, right? You can project that a little bit better. But of course, you have the bigger ice surface to work with there. And if you were concerned about him being 5'11" and 165 pounds, I wouldn't be as concerned about it, because he's a smaller guy who's already playing against, like we said, older, bigger competition, and he's having a lot of success with that. And it's funny that you would mention Joni Pitkänen, because I had pulled up some stats for my video when I was talking about Topi Niemela, and it's a bit of a mouthful here, but EliteProspects.com has this awesome filter tool where you can look at basically any player from any league and filter it all out between ages and stuff like that. And Topin Imela, for a defenseman playing in the SM Liga since 1999, sorted by points per game, for guys under the age of 20, has the second highest season, behind Sami Vatanen's age 20 season. He's tied with Miro Heiskanen's age 18 season. He's in front of Sami Vatanen's age 19 season, in front of Esa Lindell's age 20 season, in front of Yanni Pitkinen's age 19 season. And Axel Rendell is also on this list as well a couple of times. He's another Toronto Maple Leaf prospect and probably was a snub for Team Finland last year. And
so he's better than Esa Lindell.
Well, he's in company with all of these players right now, and those are his peers, right? Because if we're looking at the stats, 24 points in 31 games, you need to be able to put that into perspective, right? Looking at other players his age playing in that same league and seeing what success that they've been able to have. And to be in company with guys like Esa Lindell and Sami Vatanen and Yanni Pitkkinen, those are some encouraging names, especially when you're looking at prospects and trying to project into the future. And he does an excellent job, like you said, at carrying the puck. He's an awesome mobile defenseman that's able to do it in all three zones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a big thing too, is he's not just an offensive defenseman. Like he's very good defensive, like very, very good defensively. Now, definitely don't have as good an eye for what would translate to D-man, like being a good D-man in the NHL. Not that I really have that good of a fucking eye anyways. I mean, basically cross-eyed, but watching him carry the puck and moving with the puck, that you can tell, that confidence you can tell can replicate to the NHL.
I didn't throw it into my video, but I think a really good comparison would be Sam Girard.
Yeah,
a really good comparison would be Sam Girard, a smaller guy that's able to shoot the puck, because Topin Imela does shoot the puck a lot, and be effective in transition as well.
Are they? Well, I guess none of us watch any Finnish, I would assume. But is it one of those shooting the puck where it's like Erasmus Sandin shooting the puck, or are we talking like Brian McCabe clappers from the point shooting the puck?
He picks his spot. And he does it quite often. And they do run a lot of offense through him.
Would Rasmus not be a pretty good comparison too? Just because he was one of the guys who, like, on Sweden, he was their top defenseman in the World Juniors as well. He's a little bit undersized, plays good defensively, good puck mover. Like, are they a little bit comparable, do you think?
Yes and no. I think that Topi has the ability to play in all three zones, where Rasmus Sandin, we definitely have seen the offensive flair. We definitely have seen what he can do on the breakouts, just absolutely dummying guys and breaking their ankles. We've seen a couple of the reverse hits that he throws, and those are nasty as well. He definitely does have a little bit of an edge to him. And I think that he will get better, right? Obviously, because he's still 21 years old.
21 years old.
I think that he can round out his game. The thing is, with Topin Imela and Rasmus Sandin, I don't want to put a damper on the mood at all. But in terms of skaters, both these guys are fantastic on their edges. But if you're looking at another defenseman who Din mentioned earlier, and he made some weird joke about fishing, Morgan Reilly. Morgan Reilly is an excellent skater. He's awesome on his edges, but he has impressive straight line speed. I don't think that Topin Imela and Rasmus Sandin have the same straight line speed as Morgan Reilly does. And I think that may limit them in certain opportunities, but I still do think that they will be awesome, effective players at the NHL level, maybe just not as high a ceiling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what do you think his way to the NHL or way over to North America at least is from here? Because like if he winds up being top 10 and scoring in that Finnish league, does he go back there?
I would really like to see the Toronto Marlies reunite Topin Imela and Mikko Kokkonen. I believe they were partners at the World Junior Championship tournament last year. And I would also really like to see them reunite Axel Rendell and Mikko Kokkonen as well, because I believe they played on the same team last year and on the same D pairing. over in Finland as well. I would really like to see that chemistry get going there and start the next Rasmus Sandin, Timothy Liljegren sort of thing. I would really like to see them get that going.
I love that idea. I love that idea too, of just like putting these guys in the way that you would probably put them in the NHL. Obviously, that's not always going to happen, but like at least knowing that when they're like, let's say all six tomorrow, or let's say all of them have to play up and on the Leafs, and there's comfortability there. Like whoever's coaching at the time, he can know, well, you know, these guys played on the Marlies and they were pretty good. There's no way that it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Right. So the comfortability of having that.
So this is, I know we're going to get back to Matthew Nyes. We'll skip over Roddy Hervinen because we talked about him in the last podcast, and no offense to the guy, but he's not quite as exciting as the other two aforementioned. And
I disagree with that.
All right. Well,
I disagree with that.
There we go. Yeah.
I really like Ronnie.
Get your voice up. Let's go. Start
yelling
at him.
When he was drafted, a lot of scouts came out and said that this guy has first round talent. Right. And he fell to the Maple Leafs at the later part of the second round in 2020, mostly because of his size. And he has put on a little bit of weight since his draft year, but he still is just 19. Right. And the same sort of deal as Topi Niemela. At the end of this year, he'll be 20 years old, and he would have finished playing 3 years over in Finland in their highest league. And if your concern about him was his size, well, he's already playing in a professional men's league, right? And he's having a lot of success doing so. So I wouldn't really worry about the size there. And basically every single scouting report that I've ever read on him says that he plays a lot bigger than what he is. And we've seen so many players come through the Maple Leaf organization in the last couple of years that are absolutely just big for nothing. You know, Cody Ceci, Martin Marincin, Justin Hall. Literally in his name, right?
Sorry, I had to. We traded up for him.
It's a hell of a lot of fun to watch the small guy go around throwing his weight around, right? People still talk about Trevor Moore hitting Zdeno Chara.
Yeah. I got a question for you, downtown. I think I can ask this, and all of us can ask this pretty well, because maybe not Schmitty, maybe not Isaac, actually definitely just me, because I'm a pessimistic piece of shit. It seems like we're actually drafting quite well, and especially in those later rounds. Is it a testament that other teams scouting is just shit, or like are these guys that we projected that would be around even in the fourth round? Let's say for Hervinen, I think was fourth round,
second.
Was he second?
Yeah, and then was third.
Nonetheless, oh yeah, we got them 59.
Ty Voigt, are you thinking Ty Voigt in the fifth?
Well, it doesn't really matter. All of them, right? All of them.
See,
these guys were projected to be there then, or do the Leafs know that these guys are being completely missed, because I don't think it's just luck, right?
The last couple of drafts, it's been really frustrating because the Carolina Hurricanes have picked in front of the Maple Leafs a lot, and their scouting staff is tremendous. They have an absolute loaded system. I think they got like 10 guys in this World Junior Championship.
Yeah.
And they've grabbed a lot of guys that I know a lot of people were excited about, saying, hey, the Leafs can potentially get this guy. And maybe, you know, the Leafs didn't have those guys on their radar, but I feel like the Leafs are very comfortable when they're drafting, that if they don't get the first guy, they're confident in moving on to that second guy and feeling that he's going to be just as good. Now, a lot of people I know rip on them whenever I talk about prospects that they only had 3 picks in last year's draft, right? I get that in my comment section all the time. Yeah, they had 12 the year before. 12 the year before. So that's 15 in the last 2 years, and you only get 7 each season anyway. Yeah. And I mean, really, what are prospects from this past year's draft going to do for the team?
Other
Nothing.
than the first round, nothing for down. Minimum 3 years.
Yeah, and I mean, unless you're dangling them as trade bait, which I mean, I guess so. But if you just drafted them 6 months ago, chances are you're not going to want to just turn around and trade them if they're that good.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't really buy into that, but I think that the Leafs have a good program going. And I mean, it's a good thing too, because if you're looking at the amount of games that they've gotten from the players that they've drafted outside of the first round, especially like going back to 2015, I'd have to check the math because I haven't looked it up in a while, but going back to 2015, outside of the first round, aside from Travis Dermott, I want to say that they've gotten 67 games played out of the guys that they've actually kept. And that's not even a full season. It might be 66, it might be 68. I want to say it's 67 for comedic value. I'm going to say 67.
Please don't do this to us.
I
already have COVID.
Now they have traded away guys like Sean Dursey and Carl Grundstrom, and I am adding the games that Adam Brooks has played for them in there as well.
Yeah.
So the number could be a little bit higher. They have dealt some players, they have dealt some picks, but they've still picked a lot of guys since 2015 outside of the first round. That needs to be better, and it feeds into a bigger conversation that I'm sure you guys have had here on the show, where it forces them to hold on to guys for too long, where it forces them to dive maybe a little bit too far into the dumpster, right? Maybe it's okay to look just on the top and see what's there, like the episode of Seinfeld when George eats the eclair out of the garbage. Maybe that's okay. Maybe you can find a Michael Bunting just sitting there on the top. But if you reach your hand too far in there, you're going to pull out maybe too many aging veterans and maybe a guy who you expected to play a higher up in your lineup that just isn't right now.
I feel like that's last year's pickups.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I can't believe we
just hit on all of them.
No, I think it's more that, like, instead of picking up fringe fourth line guys, which realistically just aren't NHL players, we picked up like fringe third line guys, which, like, even if they're not good, are still at least NHL players. Right.
Yeah. That's fair.
So what I wanted to bring up when we were talking about defensemen and what it's looking like for the next few years is this is where we can kind of like talk about the Jacob Chychrun. I know you made a video about it downtown recently about what that trade would look like, although you didn't really specify if you think the Leafs should do it. So we're going to get on this show what your thoughts about Jacob Chychrun are, because Mark and I talked about it last show. We're on a little bit different pages here. So what are your thoughts? And then Dan, I want to get yours too, because I know you brought it up 2 shows ago.
Well, I offered sort of what I would do.
The political answer.
I didn't want to concretely say yes or no, because I didn't want people jumping on me in the comment section.
This is like how I got rejected in high school.
But I'm sorry I laughed at that. It was genuinely funny though.
Okay. I have COVID. I have no energy to come back. Yeah, nothing.
But
just laugh at me.
What I had said is that if the Maple Leafs hadn't already re-signed Morgan Reilly, I would be 100% driving that train right through a mountain. Like, I would be full steam ahead, just absolutely giving it. The cap situation is already really tight this summer. Even if you want to move a couple of guys out, and it also depends on where you are with certain guys, right? Like, I know I did a poll on Twitter and 40% of people said that they want to trade Mrazek at the end of this year. I think, to me, that's a large enough number of people that have answered that. I think there was like 200 people that participated in that poll. That's a large enough amount of people that it does mean something that's worth talking about. I'm not there personally with that. So
we have to re-sign Jack.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, even
he's going to cost $5 million.
I did a video at the beginning of the season and I was like, this is the number that I'm projecting based on the comparables that I ran through in my video, right? I looked at goalies that have signed over the last couple of seasons and compared their numbers to Jack's. And I said, okay, well, he's better than this guy. Okay, well, he's not really better than that guy, or the situation, the circumstance is a little bit different. Maybe he should come in. I said in that video around $4.5 million on a 3 or 4 year deal. And to make that happen, it was difficult at the time. And the better that he plays, of course, I want him to play well, right? And especially in the playoffs, that number keeps getting closer and closer to $5 million.
Why haven't we extended him yet?
I mean, not to get too off topic, but it's sort of a situation to where for him, if he keeps playing like this, the dollar amount keeps going up. Mm-hmm. And the Leafs,
no incentive.
Yeah, there's not really an incentive for both sides. From the Leafs side, from the Leaf side, they want to get it done, but they also don't want to overpay, because there is that history of injuries. It's not an extended, like, over 2 or 3 seasons body of work that he has where he's been this good. And then for him, the sky's the limit, right? If he continues to play this well, someone will pay him if it's not the Leafs.
Yeah.
Now, Luke Fox from Sportsnet, he predicts that we could sign Jack Campbell for $1.65 million. That's what he's predicting it will happen.
Wait, what?
Mark told me that before the show. I still
Yeah.
don't know if
That's got to be a
article.
typo.
Yeah.
It's got to be a typo.
Maybe this. I think this year he's got a good chance of making that though.
But to get back to that Jacob Chikrin point, this offseason is going to be really tight as it is without moving out guys like Mrazek. Like if you're okay with moving on from a Pierre Engvall because he doesn't have a deal, and Ilya Mikheyev because he doesn't have a deal, Justin Hall,
Sandy Logan.
maybe a Nick Ritchie,
Justin Hall is gone.
maybe an Alex Kerfoot. Then you also need to look at Rasmus Sandin and Timothy Liljegren's next contracts as well.
Yeah.
And do you want to do the responsible thing and maybe pay them a little bit more upfront and get them signed to a longer term deal? Or do you want to go short 1 or 2 years, but have to pay them a little bit more
Bridge
in
deal.
the future?
This is how
My
you
Is
budget
that even
is
in the cards? And
one
you have
for
to.
long term, one for bridge deal.
Yeah.
I don't think that they have the assets to do. They obviously don't have the cap space to do everything, right?
Right.
And if you're re-signing Jack, it's really, really tight without moving out several guys on your roster. It's not just 1 or 2; it's probably 2 or 3. Adding in Jacob Chikrin, another guy making $4.6 million. Okay, maybe you can move on from a Travis Dermott at that point, but that's only $1.5 million. You're 100% moving on from an Alex Kerfoot at that point, and you're seriously moving up the conversation that you would have to have about Peter Mrazek, and then you'd have to have a conversation about Joseph Woll as well. It's not so much is Chikrin good or is Chikrin bad, because he's awesome. He's been a top 10 defense. He's been close to a top 10 defenseman in the NHL over the last couple of seasons. He's having a little bit of a rough go at it this year, but the Coyotes
On that team.
really,
Yeah.
really
Arizona.
suck.
Yeah.
I
So
don't know if you can call him a team at this point.
Plus, Scottsdale is completely open, and I heard the bars there are 6, so he's probably just living it up a little bit. Right?
So so downtown. Here's my idea.
Mhm.
I don't know if you've heard it before. I bring it up every podcast. You get Mark Giordano at the trade deadline, retained. He's from Toronto. He can fit into that top 4. He's played with TJ Brody before. If an injury goes down to one of the defensemen, Jake Muzzin, every single year, he can slot into a good spot. You trade a guy like Travis Dermott, you get his cap hit off the books. Seattle's like, oh, great, we got another controlled guy, kind of like a Nate Schmidt thing for another year. Giordano comes over. We'll retain some money, maybe throw in a 4th-round pick. Who says no?
Steven, if you're going to say, if you let him
hold
down
on,
easily.
hold
if
on,
you're gonna
hold
be-
on,
if
hold
you're
on,
gonna
hold on.
be Nice. It's
Hold on.
his baby. This is his
Hold
baby.
on. I'm wearing a baseball hat here, and Isaac just served me up a juicy hanger of a curveball right down the middle, because I it may not be fair for me to talk about Mark Giordano because I had gone to the same high school that he went to, obviously not at the same time, and his brother-in-law was my grade 10 careers teacher as well. And I had scored the highest on a couple of tests, and I got a couple of Mark Giordano signed bookmarks hanging around somewhere.
Wow.
So high school Steven was a huge fan.
Mhm.
Right. I remember even writing an article for one of my English classes saying that the Leafs needed to trade their 1st-round pick in 2014 to acquire Mark Giordano to play with Dion Phaneuf, that he needed a defense partner. This goes back a long way.
Fuck Dion Phaneuf, TJ Brody.
Right. And
Okay.
that 1st-round pick ended up being William Nylander. And Mark Giordano did win a Norris Trophy in my defense. So
Actually, no,
have been
he's in.
that.
It's his defense because he plays defense.
Oh.
But Mark Giordano, 38 years old, is another left-handed shot. Still playing over 20 minutes a night for the Kraken, right? And the last time that I
Someone
looked
has
at
to.
it,
Yeah.
he's not that bad. He's not that bad. He's having a decent season in the role that he's playing. That being said, he's got quite a high cap hit this year, and to be able to fit that under the Maple Leafs' salary cap, they would not only need to get Seattle to retain, but they would more than likely need to be adding in another team there as well. So that adds to that cost. Trust me, I have thought about this. But the one thing, like, go back, like, for anyone that was making fun of Isaac, I'm on his side. I'm on his side here. For anyone that was making fun of him,
we've all switched sides. Don't worry. We all switched sides.
For anyone that was making fun of him beforehand, go back and watch some Mark Giordano highlights, and not just the goals and the assists. Like, watch him block a shot with his face and tell me that doesn't get you fired up. I mean,
Mitch Marner once did that too.
So, yeah, and that got a lot of people fired up, and then it got a lot of people mad at him because he didn't do it again. Right? So careful where you set your expectations, right? But I'm a huge analytics nerd. I'm a huge stat guy, but that kind of thing still gets me fired up. And Mark Giordano, I believe there was a story going around at the beginning of the pandemic where him and his wife were buying people's groceries when they were still with the Flames. And he's just, it's that captain experience. It's that veteran experience. It's that having won a Norris Trophy. It's the person as well, right? Like, I think of that Amazon series, I think it got made fun of a little bit on how, at how happy Nick Foligno was to be a Toronto Maple Leaf, and then he signed with the Bruins basically instantly. But
such a power move.
I think it would be very, very special that if Mark Giordano got that opportunity. I think that would be very, very special. I think a lot of people would fall in love with him.
Can you do the math super quick? Anybody? Like, if you did get him at the trade deadline, at what is he, 6.4, 6.5, something 6. like that, and you're trading a guy like Travis Dermott or Hall, I don't know, you probably couldn't get him for Hall, but let's say Travis Dermott, because it is similar to like a Nate Schmidt with the Vegas Golden Knights. You give Dermott a little bit more. He's still younger, not like Hall is like 29 or some shit. But does that make sense? They wouldn't need to retain that much, would they? Because of the salary cap going into the trade deadline being so low?
But it's all prorated. That's the thing. Like, it's not just, Giordano's, let's say if you're at the trade deadline, technically there's, let's say, 2.75 left on it, right? But that means technically Dermott's only owed $600K too, right? So it's easier, but not easy.
I don't have the exact numbers to be able to calculate that in front of me, but they would still need help from other teams, because I would imagine that if you're adding a Mark Giordano, I would want to add one more piece to this team up front as well. So you really want to make the most of your cap space. And if you're already there, if you're already paying the price, you might as well chip in, a little bit more and find that space to go out there and get someone else as well. This is like, I've said it a couple of times in my videos, but there will come a time where the Toronto Maple Leafs will be faced with a point of no return, right? To where they're not able to give guys the benefit of the doubt anymore, where they're not able to wait, where they will run out of time and say, is this working? And if the answer is no, or I don't know, that's a problem. There's a date this year where they need only yes answers, because they cannot afford to lose again in the first round.
Let's say trade deadlines next week. You said you wanted to add some pieces. I know we talked about this on the previous podcast, and I know this is just us talking because we just keep winning and not losing, but you said we don't really see anyone that we'd really want, or any pieces that we'd really want to add to this team. Now, obviously, would I like a left winger? Yes, but like, realistically, is that possible? And we don't want to give up our first round pick.
Yeah.
So,
or Nicholas Robertson.
Or Robertson or Mirov. If we don't want to do any of that and we don't really have cap space, then I'm kind of okay with what we have. What are your thoughts on that?
I think I was taking a look at the standings here before we jumped on, and the Florida Panthers, just like I predicted, not to, boost my ego or anything like that at the beginning of the season are falling off of a cliff because just like everybody said, it wasn't just me. Their goaltending is suspect at best. And Sergei Bobrovsky's posted a save percentage just above 900.
And didn't they just drop Spencer Knight down to the AHL?
Oh, yes, they did. Yes, they did. I'll pull up my exact tweet. Bobrovsky's rocking a 901 save percentage since November the 1st, and the Panthers are 10-6-4 over that span. They're a strong team that is held back by goaltending. Big time.
So you're telling me Mason Marchment isn't a number one player?
I'm saying that their team is awesome. Their team is amazing. Their forwards, their defensemen,
Gross.
Gumbo.
But they will, just like it was true when Nick Kipro said that the Leafs will go as far as Freddie Anderson can carry them in that first year in the 16-17 season.
Did you just quote fucking Kipper?
I did. That's how deep we're getting in
Holy
here.
shit.
I got things that are floating around my head that they come to the front every once in a while, and I'm like, oh geez, where did that come from?
I'm so glad I have no Kipper fucking quotes in my head. Jesus Christ, I got enough weird shit up there.
But the Panthers will go as far as Bobrovsky and Spencer Knight can carry them. And Spencer Knight's a very talented young goalie, but he still is a rookie, right? Yeah. So that may not be very far. But fucking if he just decides to win the Vezina Trophy this year for whatever reason, because he has that ability, they could be a serious contender. So if they're a team that's going to fall out of favor, then we're competing with the Tampa Bay Lightning. And they are 8-1-1 in their last 10 games when hockey is actually being played. And they are doing this without Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov.
And Cirelli, right?
And Cirelli for the better part of that. I don't know if he's back or not yet. It's just, I look at the Leafs and maybe they don't have to play them in the first round. And maybe you can pray that maybe the Blue Jackets sneak in there and they take them out again.
Does anyone even pray for anything when it comes to the playoffs anymore?
No, it doesn't. No one's listening. Nobody. I do, but nobody listens.
No, like I like. It doesn't matter who we face. It doesn't matter who everyone else faces, right? Like,
but the Lightning, they would worry me, right? I mean, they groan when you say measuring stick whenever the Leafs do play the Lightning, but that is the standard. Right? They are back-to-back Stanley Cup champions, and the path to getting to the conference finals or even the cup finals for the Leafs goes through Tampa. Maybe not specifically Tampa if the Leafs have home ice advantage or whatever like that, but it probably does go through Tampa. And when I'm looking at their team and when I'm looking at the Leafs team, I see obvious holes that I would not be comfortable with in going up against them in a 7-game series. And that is the right side of the blue line, especially if Justin Hall can't figure it out. He's got another month or two. I
was about to say, was that a double entendre when you said holes in their game?
I slur and stutter sometimes, and my mouth's really dry. I only got this orange pop next to me. I should have gotten some water.
I'm pretty sure you said Hall, right?
But
some glaring holes everywhere.
Glaring holes everywhere.
But that right side is a big problem for them, especially if Hall is not going to find some sort of his former self out there on the ice. I'm really only comfortable leaning on Timothy Liljegren so much because in the game against the Oilers where he was on the ice against McDavid, he got kind of killed, right? Like there was a couple of holy shit moments.
He got burned. Yeah,
he got burned. And Nikita Kucherov, Braden Point, Steven Stamkos, they're not Connor McDavid, but they're pretty damn good too, right? And TJ Brody can only do so much.
So, and to interrupt super quick because I think we're all on the same page that we wouldn't mind seeing someone on the a Mark Giordano come over. But you mentioned that you wanted someone to come into the forward group. So when I look at the Leafs and I look up any team in the NHL in terms of forwards group, the only ones that compare to me are Tampa Bay and Colorado. Those are the only ones that I see that are, and Vegas when Eichel comes back. I honestly am totally okay with riding with this forward group, not adding anyone and getting someone, spending all your, like what you're going to pay to get someone out of the blue line who can play like a 3-4 spot. But you said that you wanted someone on the forward group. So like, what are you kind of thinking there?
So there's a couple of ways that we can approach that conversation. One, Nick Robertson comes back and fills the spot and is good. Maybe they finally play him with someone other than Pierre Engvall on the fourth line, and they give him an actual opportunity playing in the top six. Maybe a Josh Hosang comes up and he's able to have some success. Maybe you give Andre Kasha a long-term shot, right? Playing with Austin Matthews, and he's able to stay healthy and he plays really well. But I don't know if any of those plans are concrete, right? I don't know how much confidence I have in those three things holding up over the rest of the regular season and going into the playoffs as well. So you may want to go out there and acquire a guy, but you also have some backup plans. They're a little bit less likely, but they're the cheaper option, right? Ideally, I mean, Andre Kasha, the more that he plays, the better that he looks. It's a situation where I watch him get hit and I'm absolutely on the edge of my seat. Please get up.
Because he's diving into people head first.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. Have you seen a game yet this year? Have you gone to a game, Brown?
I've gone to a couple, yeah.
Dude, watching him skate, he looks like a fucking NPC when like the puck's not around him, like just doesn't have a fucking clue what's going on. Is just spinning around.
He has severe Mikhail Grabowski syndrome.
Yeah.
For the people that would remember, he would skate head first over the blue line a lot and get absolutely crunched. He got hit hard in that 2013 series against the Bruins a couple of times, and it changed him, right? He was never the same after that. And Andre Kasha was cleared of all of his past concussions this summer. And that's what kind of drove that hype train. But
it wasn't luck, though, that he got those concussions. You watch him and you're like, fuck, this is going to keep happening.
Yeah.
Certain players do put themselves in more vulnerable positions, and he's an absolute mad lad, and I love him for it, but it absolutely terrifies me. And there was
this
that
guy's
quote
basically he's the Wile E. Coyote, man.
There was that quote from earlier in the year where I think someone asked him what his mom thinks of the way that he plays, and is like, I believe that was him, and his mom basically said, like, I'm terrified every time I watch him, because
that's a Czech mom saying that.
Yeah. Like, not to say that all people from the Czech Republic are crazy, but David Riddick did say that he likes to warm up by having people take shots at his head, and he is a goalie, and those are different breeds.
Yeah. And he's not even good.
But I respect I respect those guys a lot, because they're characters and they do try hard, and Andre Kasha is actually good. So I want him to play in all the games, but I don't know if he's going to be able to or not. And that's not me doubting or trying to put a damper on things. It's just I worry when I watch him play sometimes.
So you're when you think of having an extra offensive guy, it's someone within the system, but you wouldn't be opposed.
It could be, but I would not be opposed to going out there and getting another guy. Now, I'm not interested in peddling. And what I mean by that is I'm not just interested in going out there and getting someone a little bit better. If you're going to go out there, get me Thomas Hertl, get me Kempe, get me Philip Forsberg, get me JT Miller, get me somebody who can walk through that door and do something, right? That doesn't get lost in the crowd.
When we get these middling guys is that we play them and we go, they don't play amazing the first game. We go, well, that didn't work.
I don't want Nick Foligno.
Yeah.
I don't, no disrespect to him. I'm not interested.
I'm disrespecting him.
Well,
He
okay,
disrespected me and my family.
so for me, I look at the Leafs right now and I think Bunting, Matthews, Marner, good with it. Okay. Second line, Nylander, Tavares, Kerfoot. Kerfoot, the way he's playing this year, good with it. Third line, if you can have Kasha, Kampf together, and then Mikheyev, if you like anyone on that third line, that's a cup contending third line. And then fourth line, with the way Simmons has been playing this year, he can slot up in the lineup when you need him to. So, and then you still got Jason Spezza, who we all love Jason Spezza. And then we've seen with the guys we brought up, the Joey Andersons, the Brett Seeneys, the who was the other guy that we brought up recently? Steve's. Yeah. So those guys, we talked about it last podcast downtown, that like there isn't too much difference between them. You know, you bring them up, you play them for we got Kyle Clifford too, you know, and like there's a bunch of guys that can come in and play 8 minutes a night and be somewhat serviceable without being a detriment to the team. So for me, I'm like, if we go out and get a guy, it's not I just don't really see where they fit into this lineup, especially with Nick Robertson, who can come in, play top six. Ho-Sang possibly can come in, play just. For me, I don't want them to go get another guy. And I see like Philip Forsberg, Hurdle, like those guys cost too much to trade, let alone you're not keeping them without giving up someone of the top four or the top four in the defense.
You're just not keeping them.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. So that's that's where I'm at. It's just like, I like this team as it is. And that's such a weird thing for a Leaf fan to say. Yeah. I haven't said that since
the forwards.
Even on the D, man, like Liljegren got beat a few times, but it's his rookie year.
Yeah.
No, it is.
I always forget.
It's probably his 15th game.
Yeah. How many games has he played?
Yeah. You know, and he's getting beat by Connor McDavid. Everyone gets beat by Connor McDavid. TJ Brody gets beat by Connor McDavid. Yeah,
but the problem is and I hope I hope we say it's his 15th game. I hope by the 82nd Leafs game this year that it's still not his 22nd game.
Right. You want to play him more.
Yeah.
Hall.
It definitely is.
I want Hall gone.
It definitely is a coin conversation. Like, you can go either way with it. It's 50-50. I definitely do subscribe to, you can't keep bringing in new guys. You have to give the guys that you already have an opportunity to show that they can do it. And that was my argument against going out and getting another defenseman in the offseason. You need to give Sandin, Dermott, Liljegren looks and opportunities. And obviously some of those guys are further down their leash than others. Dermott. But I mean, it's something that would keep me up at night if you didn't go out there and get someone and there's an injury and they don't have the depth.
So right. You're talking like Ben Hutton kind of shit.
No, I'm not I don't want
talking about actual players.
That's okay, because that's not no, I was saying because Ben Hutton isn't middling or anything like that. He's not a Foligno, he's a Ben Hutton.
Yeah.
But I just what do you want to go give up fucking prospect in a first to retain half of Thomas Hurdle and probably Kerfoot?
Well, I mean, as we get closer to the deadline, more names are going to be available. And with the ever-changing landscape of the NHL and the salary cap is going to go up.
Is it?
1 million,
they
right?
said it was going to, but
that's before they were losing money.
The recent changes to the salary cap and what's going on right now, they've re-implemented taxi squads, and basically players on the taxi squad need to make X amount of dollars per day. It doesn't count towards your salary cap, but it counts towards the salary, and that's what matters at the end of the day, right? So the more money that the teams spend on player salaries, the more that you're adding to that debt, or the less that you're paying that off in terms of the escrow, because it's a 50-50 split, right? If they make $5 billion and it's a 50-50 split, the players get $2.5 billion, the owners get $2.5 billion. But if they make less than what they're projected to, then the players share in those losses as well. And that's what creates the salary cap going up, or it's staying put, or even coming down. Right? So I don't know if that changes the cap going up by $1 million at the end of this season or not, but it definitely does factor into what certain teams can do. And we've talked about the Leafs and their cap space, but maybe it's not a Thomas Hertl. Maybe it's not a Philip Forsberg. Is Forsberg a UFA at the end of this season, or does he have one more year left?
No, he's UFA.
Right.
It was last year when we were talking that he would have had one more year
Mhm.
when we wanted him last year.
If the Canucks ever lose another game, you know, if they
Not
come
happening.
back down to earth, and maybe a JT Miller is available, that is someone who I would be very, very interested in, especially if you're able to find, especially if you're finding a partner to retain, because he's got one more year left on him. I think, well, it probably ends up costing the same, because you're paying for that extra year, or maybe even more. You're paying for that extra year, and you're also paying for another team to retain. But if you can get him, and maybe another team retains $1 million or $1.5 million or something like that on next year as well, I think you're in business. And at that point, you can slide
That
a
I'm okay
Kerfoot
with.
down. You can slide a Kerfoot down, and you can go with Kerfoot, Kampf, and Kasha, and then you can reunite the Bash brothers and Simmons and Richie on the fourth line with Old Man Spezza in the middle. You know,
You mean the third? That's Kenny Wu right there, the third Bash brother.
Yeah, exactly. And I really like that depth then, because you have another guy added to that top six. I wouldn't touch Bunting, Matthews, Marner, Nylander, whichever one you want to put there. But then that gives you JT Miller, John Tavares, and either Marner or Nylander to work with. And if there's an injury, you can always move Kerfoot back up. You can always move Nick Ritchie back up. You can always move Wayne Simmons back up. If there's an injury at the center position, you can move Kerfoot over, and you can slot one of the wingers up. I really do like the flexibility, and I really do like the options that a lineup like that could present you.
Yeah, I was definitely like completely opposed to going out and getting another forward, but now I'm like, well, that does sound pretty good.
Yeah,
but it does depend on who's available.
Yeah.
Maybe a JT Miller's not available.
Right guy.
It does.
And get a fourth or even a third liner. You're like, no.
It'll be more obvious in a month or two.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask, because Mark and I talked about this last podcast, and we're gonna start with Dan, and then we're gonna go to you downtown, so you have some time to think about it. Because in my opinion, the Leafs right now have an 8 to 10 year window.
This question, yeah.
So I want to know what you guys think. Are we going to be a dynasty for the next 8 to 10 years, or do we have a shorter window?
So when I was listening to the podcast that I wasn't on, basically you can frame this in this way. Would you rather have a 3-year window where, let's say, you have a 25 or like a 20% chance of winning the cup, or would you rather, like, each year, or would you rather an 8-year window, but each year you have like a 10% chance? Now, obviously over the 8 years, you technically have a higher chance, but that also means there might be years where you don't make the playoffs. Maybe you just first round exit. But on the 3-year window idea, you're making the second round, you're making the third round, whatever. I know we haven't before, but shut the fuck up. We're just talking. But was your question, what would you rather for this one, or what?
Well, it can be both. What would you rather, or what do you think that we have? Because I don't see with the core we have us missing the playoffs for the next 10 years.
Well, considering that, like, I just more have faith in management, and I don't know how long this management group will be around, but every year we're fine, right? Like, we're going to make the playoffs again this year. How many years in a row will that be? 6?
Did we miss one? Like 3?
No.
Okay.
Wow.
No. Well, okay. Well, no.
If you want to be cheeky about it.
I'm going to say no, because fuck that. COVID sucks. I wouldn't know because I've never had it, but I heard it sucks. But no, I believe in this. I believe in this management group, and I also think that, you know, when we talk about, well, that Tavares contract, does anyone else just think that they're just gonna figure it out, because they do with everything?
Yeah.
Right. They literally always figure everything out. Every single time we're like on, and it's great to talk about, right? It gives us a reason to make a fucking podcast. But every single time there's discourse about something, it figures it out, right? Remember our whole goalie situation? We now have a Vezina candidate making $1.65 million.
And a backup
Right.
who's a starter, at least tandem starter in the
Exactly. Imagine, like, I don't know, like, go listen to like a Dangle podcast from 2 years ago, and I'm sure they're bleeding their ears dry about how Freddie Anderson's not going to be here in a year and a half. What are we going to do? We're going to have to sign some guy for $10 million.
Hyman's gone. What are we going to do? Oh no, we have a guy with more points than him and doesn't get injured.
Oh,
Mic drop. So now we have a Vezina candidate who makes $1.65 million. Like, I just think we're just going to figure it out. So I do think we could have a long window, but I do think based off when was the last time we had this many guys this good running into their peak, I don't know if that's going to happen, be there in 6 years.
All right. What's your thoughts, Downtown?
I think that there's two windows here, and it's set up fairly neatly in terms of the cap situation. There's the window of this season and the next two, and this season and 2 more years afterwards is where you have Matthews and Nylander still under contract, and Jake Muzzin and TJ Brody, and also Peter Mrazek as well. And conveniently, you know, at the end of TJ Brody and Jake Muzzin's contract, you're probably not re-signing them, and if you are, it's at a very, very small fraction of what they're making right now. And at the end of Mrazek's contract, you're probably moving on from that as well. So the Maple Leafs are primed and set up to extend their window and re-sign the guys that they need to, right? The core guys that are going to carry them to any playoff success that they would have. But there's 2 windows. There's this one and the next 2 seasons after it, and then there's the after. And the after is kind of scary because you're going to have to go through the next contract negotiations for basically everyone, right? No one on this team has a contract past 2024, 2025, except for Morgan Reilly, right? And the year after, so 3 years after this one is when Tavares and Marner would expire, right? And if you're bringing back Tavares at that point, that's probably at a number that's considerably less than what he's making right now. So
definitely.
There's a path here where you're seeing this year and the next 2 with the big 4 making $40 million. I guess if you want to throw Morgan Reilly in there as well. Then it's the big 5 making almost $50 million or whatever it is. And then there's the seasons after where you may be able to get Tavares at a haircut, but Matthews and Nylander, Marner probably cost you a little bit more. And the salary cap hopefully is higher than what it is right now, right? A lot of people forget that if you know, we weren't in the situation that we're in right now, the cap would be
so fine.
The cap would be close to $90 million by now.
We would be so okay.
So I think that there definitely is the window for the next 2 to 3 years. But then there's an opportunity to reset with guys like Topi Naimela and Roni Irvinen and Sandin and Liljegren and Amirov and Robertson, hopefully.
Typhoid,
you know?
maybe.
I'm going to interrupt you for a second but I'm going to ask you a question. In 2 to 3 years, when we need to re-sign these guys, if we're still in the same situation, does it not answer itself on what we have to do?
Yeah, but we're hoping
we'll know the answers.
We're hoping that by 2 to 3 years from now that we'll
have 2 cups.
And that's what I mean.
At least the conference finals. Come on.
Yeah. No, but you know, but what I mean too, like if we've gone to the conference finals, then I feel okay. 1, we're going to probably want to re-sign the guys we have. 2, they might actually want to re-sign, right? If it's more first line round exits, 1, do we want to keep the guys? 2, do they want to stay?
I don't buy it at all that Austin Matthews would ever consider going back.
Oh, dude,
Arizona.
I'm the first. No, it's new. It's the Rangers. It's the Kings or the Leafs. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't really worry about, you know, the next window where you're going to have to re-sign those guys yet. I mean, I do see it when I look at the cap friendly page, and I am on there quite a bit when I'm doing research for my videos, but I'm focused on the window that we're in currently right now. And, it would be nice to have one of the young guys really step up in a big way. It would be nice to acquire somebody, right? Like, where's our Dave Vanderchuk? Can we get him to come out of retirement and really just come in here and drive us, for a little bit? Where's our Gary Roberts signing? I guess that's Jason Spezza.
Yeah.
If we're really being honest, but Gary Roberts was an absolute monster in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He carried the Leafs through a couple of series without Sundin, right?
That's a Florida guy.
Yeah.
It's a thing, like where is that for us? Who's
We're
that going to be? Where's our Felix? I guess our Felix Potvin is Jack Campbell.
Yeah.
But he's not a kid or a cat. He has a cat. And
He has a cat.
He throws birthday parties for him. But
That's fine. We love him.
but where's our guy that's gonna push us over the hump? Or is it someone that's already here? Right?
I hope it might be one of the guys making $11 million.
Right. Right.
See, I'm gonna make a football reference here. And Mark and I are Rams fans. And they have done it in the exact way that you're kind of talking about, going out getting a JT Miller, Thomas Hurdle. They're trading every draft pick they've ever owned for veteran guys who can come in and be elite. And their window has shut to 3 years when Aaron Donald starts to get worse and Matt Stafford starts to get worse, even though he was terrible yesterday.
I started him over Josh Allen this week.
You need a mistake.
Oh no!
I still won, but
Yeah.
it was unnecessarily stressful.
Okay. So you could do it that way, or the New England Patriots were a dynasty for 10, 12 years because they had their stars and then they put in random guys who wanted to go and be a part of a system, part of a franchise that was hated by everyone else in the league except for fans in that city, aka Toronto Maple Leafs. So you can go one of two ways, and what it's going to come down to is Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, Nylander, and Tavares Tom Brady? That's what it's going to come down to. Or do you need to surround them with a lot of elite guys and just really go for it, trade all their assets and hope that they're drafting, because they have more money for scouting, everything like that? It's just going to continue to provide them with guys who can slot in next to those for like 10 years, kind of like Pittsburgh Penguins did. So it can really go one of two ways.
Do you guys think that if we won a cup, that more guys would come here?
Yeah.
I think so.
If we want a couple,
We wouldn't-
playoff
They
series,
probably
that would
they
be
could
true.
do it again.
We
Okay,
legit wouldn't know.
But who is the
Well,
last
guys are coming here now,
Yeah.
and they haven't
No,
won, right?
I know. I well, if they're coming here now, imagine what they would
Yeah.
if we won a cup. That's what I'm like. So yeah, you're agreeing. Yeah.
So who was the last guy that said, no, fuck, I'm not going to Toronto? I think it was like, who was obvious was Valtteri Filppula, but I think that was also because Babcock was the coach.
Yeah, that was
Like,
Babcock.
yeah, that
You
was
know,
probably
who
Babcock.
was the last guy that really said, who was like, nah, I'm not going to Toronto. I hate it there. I don't want to be part of this.
We can't call Stamkos that, right?
No.
No,
Or the early 2010s, probably.
not leaving Tampa is not liking Toronto, right?
Yeah. No
those-
tax.
Those
Yeah,
two things don't equal each
I'd
other.
go move
contender.
to Tampa. I already have COVID. I got my antibodies. I'm going
I
to
tell myself Taylor Hall said that last year.
Oh yeah, that was the whole thing. What do you think about that? Do you think he actually didn't want to come here?
I think that there were a lot of credible sources that said he would have come anywhere that was interested. The preference for him was to go to a place where he could re-sign, and he went to Boston and they re-signed him. The Leafs obviously wouldn't have been able to have afforded to have re-signed him. So maybe Boston was higher on that priority list. But I think if Toronto was interested, I don't think he would have said no. I don't know if he would have said yes, but I don't think that he said no.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same boat there. So that's why I think we have 8 to 10 years of being happy Leafs fans, at least.
Happy.
Happy Leafs fans. I'm happy right now. I think that we are definitely making past the first round. I said from the start, we're coming second in our division. My bold prediction last time was that we would be within 2 points of the President's Trophy this year, whether that's Colorado or whether that's Tampa. And now, Mark, I forget what Mark's bold prediction was, but you guys are going to have to choose a bold prediction of a team that you think is going to make the playoffs. That
I already have mine. I already have mine because I listened to the podcast, and I think we had one of them that was the same. The bold one was it yours? It was Vancouver makes the playoffs.
No, I said the Flames would be out of the playoffs.
So that's my two. It's Flames are out, Vancouver's in. That's my bold.
All right. And what's yours, Downtown? One team out, one team in.
I'm not gonna pick one that's out that will make it, because the team that I'm looking at who's in the playoffs right now, who I think will hold the spot, are the Detroit Red Wings. They are so much fun to watch, and they got some goaltending behind them, and you can do a lot with good goaltending. You could do a lot with that.
Did they take out the Bruins?
Yeah. I said it at the beginning of this year that the Bruins were going to suck.
You also said the Leafs would be third or fourth in division.
No.
We keep the receipts.
I was very disgruntled. I was very disgruntled. I'm willing to be a little bit more optimistic about the Leafs now.
I think the Red Wings is a bold prediction.
That is bold.
That's definitely bold.
Yeah, it definitely is bold, right? Because
it's bold, especially with that division.
The Bruins have 5 games in hand right now, and they're 3 points back of them, for context. But that Detroit core is a lot of fun to watch, and I think that they're only going to get better the more games that they play together. And the Bruins, I mean, they don't need it. Go away, right? They don't have David Krejci anymore. It doesn't look like they're going to be able to afford Tuukka Rask, but don't count that out. You know, he may pull a David Pastrnak and just play for free, right? Just out of the kindness and goodness of his heart.
Well, he's just fucking practicing there right now. They're like, oh, he's not ready yet. I'm like, you mean he doesn't want to play yet?
Dude, he doesn't have a contract.
Yeah.
But their decor is an absolute mess aside from Charlie McAvoy. They're not the Bruins anymore.
Yeah.
They're just not. Right.
Foligno has 4 points in 18 games. Yeah.
No goals.
And it's
none. Not one goal.
Jumbo Joe even has more points than him.
So Downtown, who's your I think it's pretty bold of you saying the Bruins aren't going to make it, but let's go somewhere else of a team that maybe is in it right now or is expected to make it that is not going to.
Well, I watched a video from the hockey guy, and he said that the Panthers are a team who could be super volatile, right? Where their goaltending, if it continues the way that it is, could play them right out of the playoff picture. And that could pave a way for the Bruins to get back into it and the Red Wings to make it. Right.
All right.
But if their goaltending catches fire, they could win the Stanley Cup.
Right.
Because that's how good the rest of the team is.
I agree with that prediction because somehow the Bruins have to make the playoffs, which means someone's got to do something stupid. So
yeah, they'll make like the second wild card or the first wild card spot, and we'll play them in the first round again.
Yeah, and they'll make the conference. They'll make the conference finals or something.
And then
something stupid.
The last question I have for you both, and this is one I asked Mark on the last podcast, and it's probably going to give some blowback depending on what your answer is. But who do you take between Hyman and Bunting? Let's say the contracts were within $1 million of each other. Who are you taking?
I think you did it. Wait, you did 2 last time, and are the contracts the same length?
Yeah, let's just say they're the same length.
Okay. Just $1 million? Wait, how? Just $1 million?
Let's say it's 5 and 4 or something like that. Who are you taking for the next 5 years, Hyman or Bunting?
Go ahead, Dan. Go ahead.
Next, and they're the same age right now.
Same age. Yes, everything as is.
Dan's got a lot of questions. I should have went first.
I'm trying to get no blowback here. I'm taking Hyman.
All
right. Right. Like he's more of a sure thing. $2 million, I take Bunting.
Okay.
I am taking the pride of Scarborough. Ontario here.
Hell yeah.
In Michael Bunting. That is the only correct answer and the best way, unless Isaac has another question here to finish up what we're doing.
No, that's the best way to finish it. Yeah. Just the injury history.
Just because he's from Scarborough. Doesn't
All right.
matter about any of the other intangibles. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, Scarborough is the center of the universe. As I've learned out in BC here, is things you don't say to people in BC. All right, so that's it for the podcast today. Thanks again for coming back on. We ran pretty shit. This was a long one. I thought it was like an hour. All right, sorry for taking so much of your time, but I thought that was good. I guess the last little thing is, like, when are we expecting the season to start again for people who haven't been paying attention to the COVID stuff? Because we got canceled again 29th, didn't we?
Yes, I believe the plan. I haven't looked into it too much. This would be my research for Wednesday's video, I guess, on my channel. But the news before the Christmas break is that they were going to reevaluate after the Christmas break, and we're in that right now. And it sounds like we're getting closer and closer to just resuming the season after the Winter Classic in Minnesota is played.
Which is when?
January the 1st or January the 2nd, something like
Okay.
that. I don't actually know if it's in Minnesota. Minnesota's in it because they got that jersey with the elbow patches.
Right. As
And
long
it's
as we don't have
sick.
Biega, Dahlstrom, and whoever the fuck else is our team.
Oh
for.
God, I had that pulled up for some prep here. The defensemen that were participating in the practice for the Toronto Maple Leafs on December the 27th is Alex Biega, Carl Dahlstrom, someone named Hellickson that I've never heard of before. Maybe that's what they call the mannequin that they use in the shooting drills. Justin Hall, Philip Crowell, and Timothy Liljegren.
I would rather every single one of those over Justin Hall.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think that's a joke here.
Play the mannequin.
Especially the
And
mannequin.
especially the mannequin.
All right, everyone.
That was me.
Well, we're gonna continue our post games and pre games downtown. We hope to have again soon. Thanks for your time, everyone. Check out his channel. He's gonna make a video on Mark Giordano pretty soon. Hit that curveball out of the park. So peace out. Don't get COVID. It sucks.
Peace, love, and road hockey.